Hare Krishna. It's been a long time. I'm happy to be back here to read the Bhagavad Gita on this Ekadasi today. Getting really disturbed by my wound. So I had a surgery recently. That's one reason I haven't streamed in a while. And also, I was editing a devotional book for a long time. So I was focusing only on that. It's called, I believe, Necklace of Splendorous Gems by Babru Das. Check it out. It should say edited by Vidyananda Das on it. Maybe another editor as well. Yeah, so I got all the metal taken out of my left ankle and right knee. But one of the wounds is really, it's no pain at all, but it's just troubling me. I think it might be getting infected or something. I don't know. I have no idea what's going on with it. That's weird. Only live for 4 seconds. What happened there? Anyway, let's just get started. We are doing chapter 11, verses 45 to 48. I got to get those humidifiers going again. Anyway, happy to be here reading Bhagavad Gita on this Ekadasi in Korea. Can't wait to focus just on Prabhupada and the Gita and these divine words and let everything else leave my mind. Please join me or not as I glorify and invoke the Supreme. I'm going to do a different one. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. One other thing I did recently, I saw Mahavatar. I don't know how to say that in one word. Mahavatar Nrsimha. I don't want to say cartoon, it makes it sound bad, but the computer-generated devotional film, I've been just sitting on it for months. And finally, when I was the night before my surgery, or maybe it was the night after. Either way, anytime now I hear or think about that mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, I think of Prahlad. I see Prahlad chanting the mantra as he does in that film so many times. It's really interesting. I think it's a good service having these kinds of cartoons, kind of crystallizes it in the mind really well, much like the deity forms. Even though they might be smaller than real life, it's like the visual form. It stays in consciousness really well, and it still is very personal too. Anyway. Let me first read 45 to 48 as literally translated by H.D. Goswami. Seeing what was never seen, I am thrilled and my mind is shaken with fear. Be kind, Lord of gods, world's dwelling. Show to me only that form of God. I wish to see you just so, with crown and club, disc in hand. O thousand-armed, O cosmic form, appear in just that four-armed form. The Lord said, being pleased with you, Arjuna, from my self-yoga, I revealed this exceptional primeval form, made of splendor, universal, infinite, unseen before any other. Not by Vedas, sacrifices, or studies, not by gifts, nor rites, nor harsh penances, can any but you in the human realm see me in such a form, Kuru hero. Be not alarmed or bewildered on seeing such a frightful form of mine. Fear dispelled, mind joyful. Behold again this form of mine alone. Oh, I read 49 as well by accident. So 48 ends with, not by gifts, nor rites, nor harsh penances can any but you in the human realm see me in such a form, Kuru hero. All right, let's move on to Prabhupada's translation and purports. Verse 45. After seeing this universal form, which I have never seen before, I am gladdened. But at the same time, my mind is disturbed with fear. Therefore, please bestow your grace upon me and reveal again your form as the personality of Godhead, O Lord of Lords, O abode of the universe. And there's one sentence from the purport which just sticks out like so much. It says, quote, this universal form is material and temporary, as the material world is temporary. For me, that's like, I'm still having trouble with that as I'm reading this now. It's really interesting. It's like kind of easy to accept as truth by faith, I guess, but to realize it, to taste this truth seems quite the difficulty for me. My instinct is that every personal form of Krishna is not temporary, is eternal. And then, but just as I said that sentence, I used the word personal. Well, is this universal form of Krishna the personal? Maybe it's not really a personal form, it's an impersonal form, right? But then, even if that's significant, is it true that the Brahma Jyoti is temporary and not eternal, and the same with the universal form is? I don't know. It's hard to make this stuff out. Now, what Prabhupada hints at in the purport is that the four-armed form is transcendental. Well, that's the explicit word that Prabhupada uses here, transcendental. He says, the universal form is temporary, but the four-armed form is transcendental. So he's kind of hinting that the four-armed form and other Vaikuntha planet forms of Krishna are not temporary. That is, they are eternal. But he doesn't actually say eternal. He says not temporary, and he uses the word transcendental. So I think transcendental might be used literally in this context, namely that like Paramatma, which I believe is the four-armed form of Krishna, is the same personal rupa of Sri Krishna within every living entity. But then this universal form is like, maybe it's temporary because it's constantly changing to match the things that it's, killing. Depending on which universe it's in and, which of the many millions and billions of living entities are dying and how they're dying. There's different forms of death as Krishna coming to consume them, or maybe it also in this universal form is like parts of the causal ocean, like where life begins as well as ends. I really don't know. I'll just read the final sentence of the purport. The final two sentences. According to the different hands, these four things are held in, the Narayans are named. All of these forms are one and the same to Krishna. Therefore, Arjuna requests to see his four-handed feature. I was a little confused by the second to last sentence. Does that mean there's different forms that they're holding four different things in, or it's the same four things, but they change hands sometimes? I'm not sure. For now, we will move on to 46. O universal Lord, I wish to see you in your four-armed form, with helmeted head and with club, wheel, conch, and lotus flower in your hands. I long to see you in that form. Again, there's another really powerful quote from the purport. It goes like this. This verse establishes without any doubt the statement of the Srimad Bhagavatam that Krishna is the original personality of Godhead and all other features originate from him. Unquote. I've been here before. I don't remember when, but it was another live stream. I was reading the Gita, where Prabhupada said a very similar and very strong statement that, that this is one of those verses which basically destroys the Mayavadi conclusions of others, others from Vaishnav sects, others from non-Hindu religions and whatever, Prabhupada is claiming this verse here is showing, is proof, is like smoking gun, if you will, that Krishna is the real deal. Again, my mind is brought back to the Nrsimha movie. So obvious. When you're seeing it visually, you sometimes get things that are, it's like, how can other people not get it, including the demigods and demons in the story? Like Hiranyakashipu, he does this severe austerity to Brahma for thousands, millions of years to give me the benediction. And Brahma's like, well, he's a great demon, but wow, he gave the best austerities ever, so I got to give it to him. And then Hiranyakashipu gets all puffed up, oh, look, I'm God of all gods. It's like, well, why don't you test that? Because it looked to me that like you were subservient to Brahma, and then Brahma came just for a brief moment and gave you something and then left. If you were the god of Brahma, then you would just be like, hey, come here, bro, and just like kill him or do whatever you want with him. But he didn't even try to do that with Brahma. And he can't even see Vishnu. You can't even see Vishnu. Like there's no contact at all because it's like too far outside of his, he's not ready to see Vishnu. That will come later in that Leela. Anyway, not sure what the point of that was. I mean, what we get in the verse is that there's this universal form of the Lord, which a lot of people may think, especially like, for instance, like Muslims, like something like this universal form is like the most worshipable to them. But here, Arjuna is saying, and Prabhupada is telling, this is the definitive truth, that the actual original and most personal and highest form of the Lord is not this, Lord of death and whatever, but really it's this four-armed form from Vaikuntha planet, which is super personal, with a specific, objects and jewelry and so on. I just fear that, like so many other great things I hear from great Vaishnava devotees, whether they're super advanced peer devotees like Srila Prabhupada, or just sweet souls that I meet at the local temple, that, for someone who doesn't accept Bhagavad Gita as truth, I'm not sure how convincing these verses can be. But as soon as you do accept it, it's hard to not accept it. That makes sense. Okay. We can move on to 47. The blessed Lord said, "My dear Arjuna, happily do I show you this universal form within the material world by my internal potency. No one before you has ever seen this unlimited and glaringly effulgent form." I wrote that even after reading this verse many times right now, and then preparing for this stream, and then all the times before reading the Gita, it's a verse that's easy to take for granted. It's easy to read casually for some reason, like, oh yeah, of course, but really, really hard at the same time to admit the gravity of the truth being spoken here. Namely, that only 5,000 years ago was the first and only time ever this form of Krishna has been seen. We have a one paragraph purport here. And in the end, one interesting thing to note is that Prabhupada says that Duryodhana also saw the universal form of the Lord, but he saw like different parts of it or different versions of it that Duryodhana was not able to accept. And it's still true that only Arjuna saw this particular form. And also Prabhupada mentions, as he has previously, I think, in this chapter, that because Arjuna was a devotee of the Lord, and Arjuna was blessed with this vision, other demigods and devotees were also because of Arjuna, then sequentially, THEN, then they had the ability to see the vision as well from their own perspective, which will probably be a little different than Arjuna's. Moving on, 48, verse 48, which has a really long purport. We'll see how long that will go. We're at 16 minutes. Good, I'm not taking too long. Though I hope I'm not going too fast for how important this is. Here it is, verse 48. O best of the Kuru warriors, no one before you has ever seen this universal form of mine. For neither by studying the Vedas, nor by performing sacrifices, nor by charities or similar activities can this form be seen. Only you have seen this. So the first thing that jumped out of me is the difference in translation. First of all, overall, Prabhupada's translation reads a lot better than H.D. Goswami's for this set of verses. It's not even close, actually, to be honest. But here there's a significant difference in meaning, where Prabhupada says to Arjuna, only you have seen this, have seen. Past tense, meaning the future tense, who knows? Someone else could see it. But H.D. Goswami's translation says only you can see this. And that actually is a direct conflict with Prabhupada's translation here, and also with the purport that I just spoke about in the previous verse, that the other demigods and devotees were also being able to see this as well. So that's a very significant difference. And this is, emphasized in the end of the first paragraph, where Prabhupada says, quote, one cannot have the divine vision without becoming divine. In other words, those who have divine vision can also see like Arjuna, unquote. And I'm going to skip to the last paragraph of the purport, which continues on this same idea that if you're divine, you get divine vision. And it also means that if you're divine, then that divine vision you have will not let you see the false divinities. So actually, I'm just going to read the whole last paragraph of the purport. The whole paragraph is great. There are many persons who create incarnations. They falsely claim an ordinary human to be an incarnation, but this is all foolishness. We should follow the principles of Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise, there is no possibility of attaining perfect spiritual knowledge. Although Bhagavad Gita is considered the preliminary study, the science of God, still it is so perfect that one can distinguish what is what. The followers of a pseudo-incarnation may say that they have also seen the transcendental incarnation of God, the universal form, but that is not acceptable because it is clearly stated here that unless one becomes a devotee of Krishna, one cannot see the universal form of God. So one first of all has to become a pure devotee of Krishna. Then he can claim that he can show the universal form of what he has seen. A devotee of Krishna cannot accept false incarnations or followers of false incarnations. That also brings me up to a conversation I had with a local devotee, I think just yesterday. He helped me with my surgery. Very sweet Prabhu. Nothing negative I can say about his character. But like so many devotees, he just hears things from other devotees and he, is following along, listening along, and parroting along. And we're talking about Christianity, and he said, "Oh, I thought it was Mayavadi." And once again, I have only nice things to say about this Prabhu, so I did not respond negatively at all. Just, said like, "Oh, I don't know if you remember what I said, but I didn't have any reaction at all." But the truth is, Jesus Christ is a real incarnation. That's not a fake incarnation. That's a real, bona fide, very advanced incarnation of the divine. I don't know if I can say Krishna. Like maybe it's Balaram, maybe it's Shiva, maybe, the exact theology of it, I believe, is up to debate. But according to Prabhupada, Christ is our guru. He came to preach God consciousness and he was tortured and betrayed. So, he deserves our utmost respect, basically. There's nothing Mayavadi about this at all. Although, if you're talking about his church and many of its followers as of today, yeah, there could be a lot of Mayavadi there. Yeah. And that could be what this Prabhu is referring to. Because I also noticed that as well when I was hanging out with the Korean Christians here. So yeah, that can happen. And it happens in ISKCON too. But it doesn't happen with Prabhupada. He's a real incarnation in a general sense. Once again, if you're a real devotee of Krishna, you cannot, I don't know exactly what that means, cannot. You're not able to, or you're able to, but you refuse to, or both, I'm not sure. But the false incarnations, if you're a real devotee, you'll know that's false, you won't accept it. And you also will not want to hang around with followers of false incarnations or false doctrines, right? Or I'm adding, and now I'm speculating and adding on to what Prabhupada said, which I shouldn't do, but it is a similar logic, right? Just as a devotee doesn't follow fake gods, the devotee, logically, we'd assume we would also be less likely to follow followers of the real incarnation who are lost or sinful, or they're following a real incarnation, but they have some trouble of some kind. Should we follow that devotee or the other devotee who's following the same real incarnation but following very well and successful in their bhakti and so on? It's no choice, right? It's a simple logic that I'm making there. And that's it. 25 minutes, not bad. Next time, perhaps tomorrow, it's my last day of vacation, maybe Sunday. We'll continue with verse 49. Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Bhagavan Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Govinda. Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita, as it is, 1972 Deluxe Edition, unedited. Jai His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Swami Prabhupada. Jai Shri Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis everywhere. Haribol. See you next time.